Hello, this is a demo of sourceCREATOR, which is a rapid application development tool. You can use this tool to build source code, software source code specifically, even if you don't have much experience in the programming language that you are targeting. So let me explain a little bit about how sourceCREATOR works before we start the demo. sourceCREATOR uses a concept known as smart templates, which is specific to this tool. Smart templates contain information about how source code must be generated or produced as you use different instances or copies of these smart templates. For example, here on the component panel on the right side of the screen, you can see a bunch of smart templates presented to you, which you can use when you want to build your application. Naturally, as a visual language, this tool requires a number of basic building blocks that you can use to build your sentences in this visual language. I call them semantic building blocks, and you can see these basic semantics presented to you, which also you can use. For instance, we can use a verbatim, which would simply equate to some text being produced. As you can see in the background, we can see the word hello being produced because of this verbatim. And well, this is a very simple test which shows you what the meaning of these semantics are. The next item would be inputs, for instance, which is a kind of a trigger of other templates. So let's jump in and build a C++ program. If you're not familiar with the C++ programming language, then that is the purpose of this demo, showing you that even if you're not familiar with a programming language, or well, even if you don't have experience in programming at all, you would still be able to follow some instructions and build a fairly complex piece of software using sourceCREATOR. So let's actually use a copy of CPP program or C++ program. Like I said before, this is a template that we have just copied or instantiated. We would need to trigger it. So I go ahead and use input to trigger anything that's called CPP program. Now, if I click on generate code, you should see the output of a very basic C++ program in the background. For the purpose of this demo, we would like to continue not actually producing the output in the background, but rather inside a file. So I tell my trigger that I would like its output to end up in a file called demo.cpp. It's important to mention that I have set up this demo so that we can actually see the results of producing code or generating code that here we are instructing to go into demo.cpp to be presented to us on a window, which shows you the difference between the old program and the new program that you are generating. So right now you're seeing on the left side, we used to have nothing. On the right side now, the application says that we don't have anything either. I have just changed my trigger to output to demo.cpp, so we should be able to see the results on the right side, highlighted in green, the next time I click on generate code. So here you can see how simple writing a basic C++ program is using sourceCREATOR. So I'm going to continue this and make it a bit more interesting. This application that you can see here actually doesn't do anything. It's an empty program, and if you tried to run it, you would probably get a message saying, well, this application is not ready to do anything. There is no what's known as main function. So next, I would like to go ahead and add the main function. That's it. It was as simple as actually dropping an instance of cpp main function template. I click on generate again, and this time I should actually be able to see the main function, as you can see here highlighted in green, generated for me. And you can see that previously we had 10 lines of code. Now we have 22 lines of code, or 23 lines of code, which contain what is known as the main function in C++. So this program still doesn't do anything. It's just a very, very basic structure of a C++ program. So next, what you want to do is to instruct sourceCREATOR that you would like to use a set of functions, or what's known as application programming interface, or API library. I have a library here called SDL, Simple Direct Media Layer. All you need to know is that this library actually enables you to do some graphical work on your application. So by dragging and dropping SDL to template, I've actually instructed sourceCREATOR that I would like to use the SDL library for some graphical application. So let's go ahead and see how that makes a difference in our code that is being generated. Here we go. So again, on the left side you see the old code. On the right side you see how sourceCREATOR has changed that for us after adding the SDL library. There is something known as an include on line 9, and some stuff added here in the main function for us so that we can actually use this graphics library. Next, what I would like to do is to create a window. I'm not going to generate code just yet. I'm just going to make sure that this window actually has everything, all the attributes or characteristics that it needs. So it needs a name. I call it window 1, and I leave it there. Next, what I would like to actually do is tell my application that I would like to render some graphics onto this window. And how do we use this renderer template? Well, it's simple. All we do is we tell the template that the window that it should use to draw the output is called window 1. Now, in a more advanced version of this application, you would probably get that automatically as well. You wouldn't need to type all that unless if you wanted to change the default values. Here, I'm showing you everything step by step so you don't get shocked by seeing unexpected outputs. And I would also like to tell my renderer that I want to delay the application for 5 seconds or 5,000 milliseconds before it closes the application. So that's about it. I think I have provided all the attributes that the application needed. If I click on generate, you should see the window and the renderer being added to the program. As you can see, again, we have some green new lines. There is a window, there is a renderer, which are basically the code equivalent to the two new templates that we have copied onto our application. So at this stage, we should be able to see something. The important thing to notice about sourceCREATOR is that it actually doesn't bind you to using this tool. The source code that you see on the right side here, it is a complete application on its own, and you can actually take this anywhere on any platform and build it without needing the sourceCREATOR on that platform. So for that purpose, sourceCREATOR at the minute is not trying to build this application for you. It's just generated the code. What you need to do is to actually go where the code was produced. In my case, it is produced in this directory. You can see that this file is here. I can actually print it out. You can see the content that we were actually observing in this window. And the way you need to actually build this C++ program, again, you do need a bit of a background knowledge here, is by using something known as a compiler. If you're a programmer, you would already know that, obviously. And by passing the file to the compiler, I would get an output. So let's have a look. And here is our window, which is going to last for 5 seconds. Next, what I would like to do is actually go ahead and change the application so that the window is not black. What I can do is open up the program again and tell the renderer that my background color, I would like it to be something different. I would need to provide some sort of RGB red, green, blue values here. If you're a designer or a programmer, you would most certainly be familiar with the concept of red, green, and blue values. It's just some random value. And if I click on generate, let me just double check background color. Yes. So if I generate code, you should see the difference in your source code on the window again. So let's have a look. Yes. So as you can see on the left side, one line was deleted because of adding background color, and a new line was inserted which contains those values. As you can see, without having the knowledge of the language that you're targeting, in this case C++, because our templates were targeting C++, you can still use sourceCREATOR to produce or build your source code. So let's try that again and run the application and see the window with a different color. Now, as the last part of the demo, you get the idea how this works, how sourceCREATOR works. For the last part of the demo, I would like to actually open up the program and say, well, I would like to do something a bit more interesting to display an image. Again, if you don't know how to use the SDL library, you might be familiar with the C++ language, but you may not be familiar with the library itself. So how do we do that? How do we use SDL to display an image on our window? Well, again, it's as simple as dragging and dropping an instance of what's known as SDL image template. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to use a file that I had prepared before for this demo, which I named image.bmp. And basically all I need to do now is to generate code to see the difference in my application. The source code is going to be changed again, and you can see that there are a couple of new lines, a few new lines. Here are 3 lines loading image.bmp for you in the C++ programming language using the SDL library, and at the bottom it is trying to actually get rid of those images after displaying and waiting for 5 seconds, and then basically freeing the memory. So again, you don't need to know the details. All you need to do is go ahead and build your application again and run it to see the output. Thanks for watching this demo. I hope that you enjoyed, and feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you very much.